No, I'm kidding. Just kidding. No, it's fine.
Okay, it's time to get started. I'll call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Lawton City Council to order. Please stand for the invocation by Pastor David Gooding of Lawton First Church of the Nazarene, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor?
Let's pray. Father, today as we gather here, I pray that in the midst of debate and discussion and differing opinions, that you would bring us a spirit of unity and of grace and charity with one another. God, I pray that you will give our council members wisdom as they make decisions for our city. God, I pray that you would give them strength and courage to always do what is right, not always what is easy. God, I pray that you would give us a spirit that would endeavor to always do good in our community, whether we are a citizen or a council member. And Father, I pray that you will continue to bless our city and bless our councilmen as they conduct their business today. And we pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, please be seated. Thank you, Pastor Gooding, and please call the roll.
Hankins. Harris. Chapman. Burke. Hampton. Fortenbaugh. Johnson. Warren.
Okay, and we have several proclamations to do today. Our first one is the Outstanding Citizens of the Month, the Great Plains Tech Center Culinary Department. If y'all would please come forward. Are you guys going to come forward? Do we have any kids here? We have one. Okay, right here. I want you to hold them. So this Outstanding Citizen of the Month is the whole culinary department of the Great Plains Tech Center. And this is a pretty exciting one because I noticed that they were having a positivity campaign. And I thought, man, what a deal for young people to start a campaign about positivity across the entire city. And the proclamation tells a lot of the story, so I'm just going to go ahead and read it. But I want to say I'm so impressed. Whereas the Great Plains Tech Culinary Department is made up of 40 members ranging from juniors and seniors in high school to adults and is involved in many different forms of service to the Lawton community. And whereas Great Plains Tech culinary students work to foster a sense of community and improve the mental health of Lawton with the Staking Positivity campaign, in which citizens can purchase signs containing 1 of 5 slogans for their yard. And whereas the slogans on the signs are meant to spread positivity with messages such as "Be a voice, not an echo," "Every day is an adventure," boy, just wait till you're elected mayor, and "Progress, not perfection," is the goal of the students of the Great Plains Tech Culinary Department to see their posters and signs all over town. Whereas the proceeds from the sale of the signs are used to assist students with the cost of attending the state competition for Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America, FCCLA, where students learn personal leadership and interpersonal skills and work on career development. Whereas Great Plains Tech culinary students spend between 35 and 50 hours a semester volunteering within the community. I love it when young people volunteer. Come think of it, I love it when old people volunteer too. They partner with other organizations to sponsor a Christmas party for Tipton's Children's Home, support Citizens Caring for Children, and C. Carter Crane Center for Empowerment and Advancement. Now therefore, I, Stan Booker, Mayor City of Lawton, do hereby proclaim Great Plains Tech Culinary Department as Citizens of the Month for April 2022. Let's give them a round of applause. Now, we're going to get down to you saying something, okay? But we're gonna let Clarence talk first.
Well, I'm very proud of the students in our culinary art program, and when they talked about doing the signage out front, I wasn't sure what they were going to do, but we've got them in front of our school, and they're all over the Lawton community, and we have more signs to sell. And I was told I can't sell them in the chamber, in the council chambers, but there are others to be sold. So very proud of our students in our culinary art program for coming up with this type of activity, and gives us an opportunity at least to look toward the future, because it's a bright one with our young men and women in our culinary art program.
It is great, and we're proud of them for doing things. You want to say anything? No? You want to say anything, Karen? Sure. Okay, now you get to talk. Tell us your name.
Taylor Morris.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you something. We're not just proud of you. We're proud of all of the students there that put this together and made it work. I'm going to tell you something. In your life, you'll find positivity is so important. And for young people to be promoting positivity in our community is some kind of special. So thank you. Let's give them another round of applause. Oh, we got to take a picture. Nobody with the camera? All right. Positivity deserves one more round of applause. Let's give them another. Thank you. Do you want to talk?
No, you're fine. I talked last time.
The Citizens of the Month are done by the Mayor's Commission on the Status of Women, and Emily Ellis is the chairperson, and we appreciate the committee and all the things that they do. And we see them most for the Citizens of the Month, but they're very engaged in women's issues in the community, and we appreciate that. Okay, this is about autism. Who's receiving the autism? Okay, I don't know, we didn't get anybody here to receive this, but I'm going to read it anyway, but I'm going to tell you some of the things we're doing. Are you receiving the autism? Okay. We are putting together a listening session in June for parents of autistic children to come and talk about the needs in the community that they have and the need for more medical care. And there's a certain type of therapy, and it's some 3 initials, and I don't know what they are. Maybe Dr. Cooper knows. Do you know what I'm talking about? I don't know what I'm talking about either. So, but apparently that's not available here. And so we're going to have a listening session so that basically individual companies can see that the market is here in Southwest Oklahoma, and the goal is to get more services for our families and our children with autism so that they're not having to drive to Oklahoma City for that care. And and I've sat on the Governor's Council for Workforce for Economic Development along with the chairperson or director of the Autism Foundation of Oklahoma, and she's working real hard to put that together. And I want to tell you something. She gave a little presentation one day at one of the meetings, and it was about how employable people with autism really are. And there has to be some things of repetition, but they make good employees. And they're a little extra training, but once they're trained, they can continue to do it. So now's a perfect time while we're in the middle of this employment crisis where we don't have enough people to remember autistic. Let me read this. Whereas autism affects an estimated 144 children and is a complex disorder that affects each person differently, resulting in unique strengths and challenges. Whereas autism causes challenges with verbal and nonverbal communications, social interaction, and repetitive behaviors, and it can affect anyone regardless of age, race, ethnicity, gender, or socioeconomic background. It's often accompanied by medical conditions that impact quality of life. And whereas a comprehensive, collaborative approach will help to advance research, providing a better understanding of the many forms of autism while strengthening advocacy efforts and ensuring access to services and resources throughout their lifespan. Whereas early diagnosis and intervention tailored to individual needs can have lifelong benefits, easing the transition into adulthood and fostering greater independence. And whereas each person and family affected by autism should have access to reliable information, supports, and opportunities to live up to their greatest potential. And whereas the City of Lawton is honored to take part in the annual observance of World Autism Month and World Autism Awareness Day to address the diverse needs of individuals and families affected by autism, I do declare the second day of April 2022 and the month of April to be World Autism Day and World Autism Acceptance Month. Let's give our autism children a round of applause. Now we have Child Abuse Prevention Month. Who's here for this? Oh, come on. Oh, yeah. We got CASA here. And we even have some children. I should have brought Jamal from my office. No, I have one of these in my office, and it's their fundraiser, and you can adopt a child for a month. And I think it's can I say it's $100, Tim?
$100 or less, or just $100?
Donation.
Okay.
So, and you can adopt a foster child for a month. And I've got Jamal, I adopted Jamal. So anyway, you can do that. So let me read this. Whereas every Lawtonian plays an important role in preventing child abuse and neglect, and whereas according to the Oklahoma Human Services in 2021, there were 76,000 reports of suspected child abuse and neglect in Oklahoma. That'll cause you to pause, resulting in 3,461 children who were confirmed as victims. Whereas our children are our most valuable resource and will shape the future of Lawton, and whereas child abuse can have long-term psychological, emotional, and physical effects that have lasting consequences for victims of abuse. Whereas effective child abuse prevention activities succeed because of the partnerships created between child welfare professionals, education, health, community, and faith-based organizations, businesses, law enforcement agencies, and families. And whereas communities must make every effort to promote programs and activities that create strong and thriving children and families, whereas we acknowledge that we must work together as a community to increase awareness about child abuse and contribute to promoting the societal and emotional well-being of children and families in a safe, stable, and nurturing environment, whereas prevention remains the best defense for our children and families. Now, therefore, as Mayor of City of Lawton, I do hereby proclaim April 2022 Child Abuse Prevention Month in the City of Lawton, and let's give these CASA representatives a round of applause. Right. Cindy, you want to say something? You're the head of CASA here, right? Court Appointed Special Advocates. Okay.
What you want me to say? Just
Tell us about CASA. Tell us about your promotion.
okay. CASA we're court-appointed special advocates, and we represent children that are abused and neglected and part of the Department of Social Services foster care system. We are in great need of volunteers because here in Comanche County alone, we have over 300 kids that are in that system. And we don't have enough volunteers to be voices for our kids, and they need voices. That's pretty much what we do, and we're always looking for volunteers, and we appreciate what you have done today.
Volunteers and money.
Yes, money is...
Let's give them a round of applause. They do need support for their fundraising campaign. Thank you guys for coming. Now it's National Coin Week. All right. Okay, let's do this.
Anybody out in the audience that collects coins, come on down.
All right. Whereas the National, how do you say that word?
Newsmatic.
That's it. You said it right. National Numismatic Association is a federally chartered nonprofit educational organization that has sponsored National Coin Week since 1924. You guys were there at the first one? Oh. Whereas ANA will observe National Coin Week on April 17th through April 23rd, 2022. The theme for 2022 National Coin Week is Dynamic Designs, Artistic Masterpieces. And whereas the Comanche County Coin Club is an ANA member club dedicated to promoting numismatic, that's it, in the Lawton Fort Sill community. And whereas during this set-aside period, member clubs of ANA will participate in activities that focus on the incredible artistry of coins and paper money throughout history and the talented artists who created them, including daily trivia questions online for the chance to win 2022 U.S. Mint proof sets, ANA memberships, and more. And whereas collecting coins, paper money, and other numismatic, okay, I got it. Oh, it's the last time I got it right. Object has always been one of our country's most beloved and popular pastimes, and clubs and collectors across the nation are celebrating National Coin Week by sharing their hobby with others. Whereas the first coins at the Denver Mint were struck February 1, 1906, and the Denver Mint continues to mint coins for circulation and for collectors. Now, therefore, I, Stan Booker, Mayor City of Lawton, do hereby proclaim April 17 through April 23rd, 2022, National Coin Week. Let's give them a round of applause. Here you go, sir.
I got 60 seconds. Been a coin collector for years. Hi, Kelly. We've got a coin show coming up in November, and we'd like to certainly circulate that all around and let everybody know. And thank you, Mayor Booker, for putting up with us. And check your change, because there's going to be a coin drop. And you're going to find Indian head cents, Mercury dimes, and things like that in your change.
That's interesting.
So that will happen. No, we're not going to drop them from a helicopter. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's give them a round of applause.
They just put them out in circulation. I don't know what you would say.
We call the roll. You remember. Okay, now it's time for our reports by the Mayor and City Council. We'll start with Ward 1.
Well, exciting news. We have one house being torn down as I speak. And I stopped there yesterday to have a little celebration.
Okay, thank you. Ward 2.
Yes, a couple of weeks ago, the Arts and Humanity had a concert at McMahon. It was absolutely outstanding. Jason Poudre organized that, I believe, and put it together. And I'm excited to say it was nearly sold out. Great participation, and I hope that we'll see more of those upcoming, and that people will get involved, because it was phenomenal.
Okay, thank you. Ward 3. Okay, Ward 4.
Yes, sir. First off, I wanted to say that we have trash off on April 30th. So, council, I hope some of you are going to work with me collecting money at the gate. For those who don't live in our community, they will have to pay. So, but the rest of you, we have open spots all over. So, You can paint, you can do all kinds of good stuff. So let me know what you're up for. But it is, trash off is April 30th at 9 o'clock in the morning at McMahon parking lot. You'll enter off of Cash Road coming back on. And so that way you'll come through the back as we've done before. And I think that was our best setup. We found out that worked the best. Also, and we take things that you normally cannot put out. So there'll be paints and things like that that you can't put in your normal trash. So that'll be stuff that you can definitely bring there. And so we hope that you do that.
Tires?
Yes. I think, yes.
Yes, I think.
Yeah, I think that's true. Also, I wanted to kind of give you an update on the sidewalks that we have. We just started a sidewalk on Sheridan Road, headed from Rogers Lane to Cash Road on the west side of the road. You'll see the crews out there putting in the sidewalks that we needed so desperately for the soldiers and those that walk up and down those roads, done with the medical marijuana money. They actually started that, I guess Monday was the start date. They actually started putting up the signs, and so we'll start seeing sidewalks going in there. The next project will be then moving to Gore Boulevard. From Gore, from Cameron at 38th Street to Eisenhower Middle School on the south side of the road. And then the third project will be Gore Boulevard and Sheridan, from there on the south side of the road all the way to Memorial Hospital. We had a lot of ADA folks contacting us about that location, that they were having to get in the road to just get to their doctor's appointments at Memorial. So we'd like to really do both sides of the road, but right now we at least can do the south side. So we're really proud of that, so that you'll start to see sidewalks coming up all across town. Also wanted to give a shout out to Lawton Community Theater. I'm so proud of the Steel Magnolia production they put on the last 2 weekends. If you didn't get a chance to go, you missed out. What a great asset Lawton Community Theater is to have in our community. The oldest community theater in the state of Oklahoma. Yes.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, and Ward 5?
Thank you, Mayor. I got a couple of things. I had some of my constituents that were concerned about roads, and we dealt with a little bit of road issues. I want to give a shout out. You might see that truck pulling a trailer around. I believe that's the X-ray truck that we're assessing all the roads in Lawton. I believe it's all the roads, right, Michael? And once we get that assessment done, it's going to give us a good blueprint on what we're going to be able to do to prioritize fixing our roads. But I want to let everybody know, if you do have any particular problems, be sure to call your council person, and they can certainly help you with that. Second thing is, I've been going to the farmers market here the last 3 or 4 weeks, and it's quite the experience in the new building. The wind, there's no wind and no cold, and they've got a lot of sweets, what I'm not supposed to have. But they have a lot of good veggies. They have meat there. I got a steak there. But I especially want to encourage people, even if you're short of funds, they've got some programs that are going on where they can match some of your funds so that you make your money spread a little bit further there. So I want to encourage anybody that is short of funds, if you think you can't afford some of that stuff that's there, make sure you go out there and give yourself a chance to check that out, because there's some supportive programs that are going on out there. Appreciate it, Mayor.
Okay, Ward 6.
I think the most exciting thing going on right now, if you drive out West Gore past 67th, there's a lot of construction activities going on. It's not blocked yet, but they are moving along with redoing that road. And so they're relocating utilities right now, drilling under the road, digging new water pipes in, or whatever needs to be replaced. We've been talking about that road for 10 years, and I'm just glad to see it start going now. The other thing happened on the northwest side of town is the crews were out crack sealing our roads out there, down Cash and Gore. Their process is really impressive, because they come in, they minimally disrupt traffic, they do one lane at a time, get it done, move on to the next one. And I called in some potholes in one stretch of road, and the next day those guys are out there fixing it. So it says a lot about the way we're managing our city. We'll spend a couple $100 now on crack sealing and save thousands in the long run.
All right, thank you. Ward 7.
The Ranch Oak Association has their monthly meeting on Thursday, the 14th, at the E.E. Davis Education Building, and that's from 6 to 7 p.m. So if you live in the Ranch Oak area, please join them in their meeting. Also want to thank Parks and Recreation and KSWO for highlighting the mural that the Shaw Brothers have restored. Thank you for that. It looks really great. It's on the side of the Patterson Center. If you have never seen that, please take a look at it. It used to be on the inside of the building, and now it's on the outside for everyone to see. And like I said, if you get a chance to take a look at that. And thank you guys for Parks and Rec again for bringing attention to that. And thank you, KSWO, for the great story.
All right, thank you, Morday.
I just, it's that time of the year again. If you're, if you're mowing your grass or you have a service mowing your grass, please keep in mind that you're not supposed to be blowing that grass out into the street. What happens is it rains and that grass and the leaves from your yard wash down the street into the drainage system and clog it up. So if you can keep that on your lawn or in a bag, that would make things work a lot better. And don't forget, regardless of whether it's household trash or yard waste, that you want to bag that and tie it.
Okay, and Colonel Taylor?
Well, it's hard to compete with the city and dropping eggs from the helicopter, but we'll give it a chance this Saturday. On base, we have our Easter egg extravaganza. It's open to the public, so come on out if you'd like to. It starts at 11 with the hunt at noon, but no helicopters, but we will have a donkey there.
Okay. All right, thank you, Colonel. And with that, we move on to audience participation. Anyone having an item of business to present to the City Council that does not appear on the agenda, please come forward at this time. And Kevin, if you'll state your name and address for us, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Kevin Williams. It's 206 Southeast, however you want to say it, Lawrence or Lawrence. It's between B and D. The reason I'm here is I've been at that building over 25 years. About 3 years ago, I was approached by an engineer, which, you know, I spoke to this other engineer over here, you know, long works here, and was promised some things, parking, certain things like that, which that never materialized. Well, then, now we have this problem with the drainage that some of you are probably aware of, some may not. So what parking I had is gone now. I met Mr. Harris just by chance. He was there last week, and we briefly talked about it. And I would just ask the city to consider, please, to go on the south side of my drive, approximately 40 feet. It would be, I did the math today, it'd be 5 more drain tiles. You already have the end piece. And at least give me something, because now I'm having to park all these vehicles inside my yard, which has cramped my ability to operate. I have done a lot of reorganization, but I would just ask the council to at least look at it. So I don't know really, I could go into more detail, but I don't have time, so.
Probably what we need to do is get you with Richard and to discuss that and kind of see what y'all can do. Do you know Richard right over here?
I've heard his name. What's his last name?
Rich Rogowski.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about him, but I don't
Okay.
know him. I've heard his name a lot.
Yeah, I get it.
So,
It's all true.
Kevin, thank
nothing bad.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for coming. Appreciate that. And Mr. Jensen? And if you'll just state your
Sure,
name and address
yes.
for us, and you'll have 3 minutes.
I'm Edward Jensen. I live at 4923 Southeast Churchill Way, and I just moved here recently, so it's been very informative what I've been hearing here today. But I have, I guess, maybe a suggestion or whatever on potholes. If you had something on your website where you could request service, do you have that?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
I'm new here, so I'm trying to learn my ropes. And also, streetlights. Do you, the utility company contracts or the city contracts with them? So if-
Actually, you call the utility company directly, is that right? You call the utility company directly, it's Public Service AEP, and you call them directly and tell them the address.
Okay, because I guess I've always done this where I used to live. My wife would go crazy. Why do you keep reporting all these streetlights that are not working? Well, because the city needs to have lights. Now, I can't tell you what street it is, but up here by that one school, I don't even know what school it is. So, but I drive by and I see a street light on during the day. Doesn't anybody in the city notice that? I mean, shouldn't you ask the police or the garbage men or city vehicles, you see a street light on, you report it. Take care of that. You know, we're wasting electricity. Now, how do we get rid of brush and stuff? Do you have a yard waste place? here
Yeah,
in
I
town?
think somebody needs to get with you because you are new
Yeah.
to town, but once, what day is your trash picked up?
Friday.
Okay, then the last Wednesday of the month or the fourth Wednesday of the month? Fourth Wednesday of the month is your bulk trash day.
Okay.
If you have it out by 7 in the morning, go ahead, Michael.
Okay.
And sir, any questions you have, right here, I'm Jay Burke, I'm your city councilman,
Well,
so.
that was
you can-
another question.
you can-
Who is
you
my
can-
representative?
You can meet with me after we get through if you want to wait,
Okay.
or I can give you my number, you call me and we can go over anything you
Sure.
have, okay?
Then the most important thing I want to talk to you about, and I don't know what control you have over this, but taxes, sales taxes in particular. Now, I know Oklahoma has got high sales taxes. I didn't come here, not knowing that. I came from a state where we don't have taxes on groceries. And, when you put a sales tax on an item that people need, you really hurt the poor. And I would hope that you would find a way to lower those sales taxes. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming. Is there anybody else that would like to come forward during this time of audience participation? Seeing none, we will move on. Before we go to the consent agenda, we have item number 24 that we're going to move to the front. It's a presentation on, let me just read. Are we ready, Marianne? Okay. Item number 24, discuss substance abuse issues in Lawton, discuss how the city could potentially help fund treatment options using a reappointment of medical marijuana sales tax receipts, and direct staff to take action as necessary. And I'm going to turn it over to Ward 1 Councilwoman Hankins.
Okay, and I'm not anti-sidewalks. Just want to get that straight so I'm not the bad guy right off the bat. It's okay. I've been wanting to bring this issue to the council for some time. I ran it past legal and they said it was all right to get this on the agenda. I am the initiator of this item. I've seen what addiction does in people's personal lives, families destroyed. I have also seen it through my work in this field for over 30 years. So obviously I have a passion for this. So today I want you to hear from Alicia Ortez. Did I get that right? Okay. From Roadback, which is the only treatment program in southwest Oklahoma. I want you to hear from her in just a little bit. She's a trained, experienced professional in the field of substance abuse. Don McGee, who used to work here at the city, is the director of Roadback, and he's here with her. There is one other treatment program, residential, in Lawton, but it's for Native Americans only, so don't want to miss that. I'm not here to argue whether marijuana is okay or not. It's here, and Oklahoma is number one again. The population of Oklahoma is 3,963,516. 376,000 of those people have medical marijuana cards. So that's roughly 10% of Oklahoma's population. New Mexico is second with 5.35%, and Colorado is just at 1.5%. A good way to begin to address social concerns is with the following 3 A's. Awareness, that's the facts. Admit that there is a problem. Accept, and then action. So here today, I want us to look at the awareness piece. So the city receives about $500,000 every year in marijuana tax money. This is allotted for sidewalks at this time, and I agree that we need sidewalks, and there is other money also that can go to sidewalks. I think the marijuana tax money should be designated for addressing the increasing addiction issues with the ease of obtaining marijuana. I think some of the marijuana, I got that. I have seen what substance abuse, I said that. It's a problem too when very young people start using early in their life, and I suspect Alicia will talk to that in just a little bit. There is a financial impact to the community as well. Crimes are committed. Driving while impaired is harder to determine than alcohol or some other things. And I believe our police officers are going to go to a training on that at some point here pretty soon. Roadback did provide non-medical detox. Now the police officers take the intoxicated person to the hospital, and I believe that's a little bit harder than it was to take them for non-medical detox. Services are decreasing and use is increasing. That's a problem. Addiction is a progressive problem to the person and to the community. We need to stay ahead of the problem. So, Alicia, I also visited with Bob Milan this week about presenting this. He is well known for one of the best drug and alcohol counselors he's known nationwide for that. He is very good. I don't want to present facts that are just from somebody guessing what they are. So, Alicia, if you'll come up and tell us your name, and I think we have to have her address as well. And then I would like to say to the council members, people are scared to talk to us sometimes. So let's make it comfortable for Alicia.
So I'm a little short. I apologize. I'm vertically challenged.
You're fine.
So my name is Alicia Ortiz. I live in Meadowbrook at 819 Northwest 49th Street. I've been there about 11 years, I guess. I'm a therapist at Roadback. I apologize. I have terrible allergies. And I've been at Roadback a little over a year now. I will try to keep this as brief as possible. I know you guys gave me about a 5-minute window. Let's see if with all my education I can figure out how to work this. Maybe I can't. I have it, but I mean, I'm hitting forward, but nothing's happening. Right? Right? It's working. Oh, there it goes. Okay. So is it still that forward button?
Forward button and backwards button. That
button right there. Okay, so this first slide is just a background. You guys probably know all this, so I won't go over it. And you can read it at length. You should all have a slide pack. This is a really important slide I want to go over. Right there for uses for medical marijuana, these are great uses. Pain management, anti-inflammatory agent, anti-nausea associated with cancer and HIV, multiple sclerosis. Now, anorexia, that one's kind of iffy, but all of those top ones, perfect. Those are great reasons to use THC, okay? This side that says advised against use, these are the reasons that we see at Roadback that people are getting prescribed medical marijuana. What happens is that they're getting prescribed medical marijuana and they're taking it, but their anxiety, their PTSD, their depression, their paranoia, their schizophrenia, it's getting worse because it's not really meant for that. And their symptomology is getting worse. They take THC, they take more, their symptomology gets worse. It's not meant for it. They shouldn't be using it for that. So there are good reasons to take THC in a medical way, but not necessarily for the reasons that it's being advised here in Lawton. This is a slide that's just giving you an example of quote-unquote Woodstock weed. So 70s had a 1 to 3% THC level. It's increased roughly to 18 to 23% today, but it's exponential to 95 to 99% if you're looking at concentrates. So a joint can have 23%, but if you're looking at an edible or a dab, what they call a dab, it can be almost pure THC, which is dangerous. It can cause paranoia, it can cause psychosis, it can put people in the hospital. This is an actual picture of products that was pulled off of Weed Maps yesterday. These are products that you can find in Lawton dispensaries. That bottom one is a nerd rope, so it looks like something that is a candy that a child would think was a candy that you would buy at a gas station. That is actually a THC edible candy. That has 100, or it says 420 milligrams of THC in it. That is meant to be divided up. You're not meant to eat that all at once. If a child was to get a hold of that, they would end up in the hospital. This top one is the back piece and the front piece to one product that has 1,000 milligrams of THC in one product. So this is actually meant to be divided up into 100 pieces. One product. You're meant to cut it into 100 pieces. Now the average person is not, sorry, my allergies. The average person is not going to do that. This is just basically a slide saying what cannabis use disorder is and what a licensed individual would do to treat it. Education, therapy, the way that we would screen them, diagnose them, and the type of therapy that we would use to treat them. We provide those services. I don't believe anyone else in Lawton does. And then if you have any questions.
Alicia, I think one of the problems too is they're not seeing like their regular medical doctor to make sure that there isn't contradictions with the medications they're taking. And so really doctors are left out of the process a lot of the times. Now some people may see their doctor for the marijuana and and everything be good for them, but it's not always that way.
If they're smart, they're seeing their doctor. If they're forthcoming and they're honest, they're seeing their doctor. Mm-hmm. But typically they're seeing these fly-by-night operations where it's for $25, I'll write you a recommendation, or literally they will, and I'm not exaggerating, they will come into parking lots, set up shop, and it'll be almost like a drive-by system. how many people in a day can I see and write recommendations for. They're not looking at, their records. They're not checking to see if they have disorders. They're not calling to see what medications they're taking. They're not looking to see, if they're even telling the truth. It's, what do you think you need this for? Okay, great, let me write this recommendation for you.
Well, and addiction is widely, and I believe too, it is a disease. It is recognized as a disease now. So if you have that, if you have the addiction gene, then one taste of any kind of mood altering, can go real fast, real quick. And so I just think the awareness is really, really important. And that's what I wanted to accomplish today. I'm not saying that people that use it for the right reasons shouldn't have it at all. But Oklahoma has the loosest, it's really did not start out well either.
Well, and I may have skipped over it with my technical difficulties, but you do have the slide pack in front of you, and there is a slide of statistics. Our statistics went up from last year several points, from 17% of our drug abusers that identified as having a cannabis use disorder to 25%. And we haven't even, we're missing a quarter. So we haven't even gotten a full year yet. So we are seeing an uptick, and 58 to 60% of our people are from Comanche County, and all of the people that we serve, spend their money here in Lawton. They stay here, they spend their money here, they walk these streets, they live here.
Okay, well, do the council members, anyone have a question? Go ahead.
Mr. Burke? Yeah, I just wanted to say that I appreciate you and what you do, and you guys know that I've supported your mission for many, many years. I disagree with you about the medical marijuana, but because one of my best friends is a doctor who is one of those that we painted a big brush on that said they're the $25 people. They're not all that way.
I didn't say all of them were that way.
I know that. I know. That's what I'm saying. I want to make sure that we understand that there are a lot of really good doctors that are saying, I can get you off this pain medication and you can take medical marijuana at the prescribed amounts, maybe THC with CBD, and make it a one-to-one. And they make it where these people can actually have a normal life again.
Sure.
Whether they're cancer patients, one of your things said anxiety. I have a whole presentation that if council would like to see it one night, we can do that. It's made by it's states that have had medical marijuana for years and years and years. And you are absolutely correct. The state of Oklahoma let it become the Wild Wild West. Okay? And we have 70 some odd dispensaries inside Lawton, Oklahoma today. All right? So it is the number of dispensaries is crazy, but I think that what we've been able to do, and as Dr. Snell will tell you, being able to get people to move off of some of the hardest drugs ever is the hardest thing ever. And so he sees those folks as many times as they need to be seen. He's there every week to do this. The reason he does it for $50 is not because he needs the $50. He makes millions, so he doesn't need the $50. But he does it because he wants to help people that can't help themselves. And so we see a lot of those people coming in that cannot afford, they can't afford $200 or $300 to see a physician to do this. I've seen so many of them come in and say, because I don't know anything about it, so he's educating me, that he's seen so many that come into his office because they have cancer of the throat, they have cancer of the tongue. He's an ENT specialist. And they're able to get off of the medication that he had to prescribe to them in the beginning when that's all they could use. Now, a lot of these people, you're correct, a lot of them were using THC stuff that was, some of it, we don't know where it came from or what it had in it. At least today, everything that's in these stores that you just showed is all tested. And you're right, there are 1,000 milligram bars like the one you showed the black bar. Some people have the highest tolerance I've ever seen in my life because, trust me, some of them can take something and it doesn't seem to affect them, where some can take just a little bitty piece and it affects them. Totally different, right? It's the same way with taking a Xanax or something else. Over time, you become that maybe one Xanax a day is not working for you. Now you got to have 2, and then you got to have 3.
But that's a hallmark of addiction.
I'm with you. I'm on your side, okay? I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying to me.
To be fair, that's the hallmark of addiction.
But my point is that it's going to change in the state of Oklahoma from medical marijuana to recreational. It's just a matter of time. It's going to happen. Because the state loves the money. The federal government loves the money even though they make it illegal. They say it's illegal. The feds are trying to pass it now. It just passed the House. So it's just a matter of time before it's nationwide. Now, I do think that some people probably abused it and always have. That's what I call those that are going to just use medical marijuana, and we know that's just, you're going to have that. But I think there's a lot of people that it has become very, very important for the quality of their life. And I do appreciate everything you do. I actually spoke to somebody at your facility once about the laws about when the police pick up someone that's on medical marijuana, have a medical marijuana card, taking medical marijuana, and let's say they're sitting at a light and somebody runs into them and they're in an accident, automatically they have to if there's somebody hurt or killed or anything in an accident, you have to do the blood sample. It's no longer a breath thing or them deciding whether or not you're on medical marijuana. The laws still state in the state of Oklahoma that if you don't do anything but sitting at the light and somebody rams into you and they get hurt or die, that's a felony for you. You're going to jail. So we're working right now. There's a huge group working to try to get those laws changed because it's not fair. But all I want to say is that don't paint, make sure we're reaching the people we need to reach that do have problems, because you're right, there are some people that have problems. I'm totally with you on that. But there's a whole lot of people that it's made a world of difference in their lives. And I hear it all the time from people that I know that have cancer, and some have passed since this all started. But thank goodness they were able to have a quality of life for the last few years. So that's really all that I have.
Just wanted to say thank you, and thank you, Councilwoman Hankins, for bringing her here for awareness, and the second opinion from Councilman Burke. We certainly, either way, whichever side of the fence somebody is on, the awareness needs to be there. And I think also a way that we can approach this is through preventive measures. It's a lot easier to do that prevention than to try to catch and turn someone around. I'm in the field, so I agree with what you're saying. But thank you for being here today.
No problem.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I've had to deal with some issues in my ward, being an older ward, where we have had some mentally ill people that we've ran into situations where we have to deal with those people. So I appreciate the awareness of this. There is a very little ways that the police and everyone have to deal with those people, and they just have trouble mentally. So the awareness of all of this to the city of Lawton and the council, I think, is really, really important, because we do have a problem where we do need to start dealing with some and help some of those people that are having those issues. Thank you.
Yes. Could you tell us a little bit, in your experience, the difference between dealing with alcohol addiction and marijuana addiction as the new potencies of the marijuana and stuff, and how that affects the mind? And I know that you're doing great work out in the field, and I appreciate that. My mother did the same thing, but this is it seems like we're in a whole new field now.
What do you mean with, as far as the differences in
when you're treating somebody who is addiction, whether it's alcohol or drugs or whatever, or are you dealing with the background?
Addiction in and of itself is very similar across the board. The difference is with there is similarities with alcohol and marijuana now that they're both considered very much legal, in that they're now socially acceptable. That's the challenge now. Because now I can do it. It's legal, so you can't touch me. That's the challenge.
So the background personality, the background causes of addiction are still the same?
Well, they're not necessarily the same, because sometimes it's genetic, sometimes it's social.
Okay.
Sometimes, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's trauma. Each unique individual is different. You can't put a blanket statement on each person.
Okay, thank you.
That's very hard to say.
Yeah, some people can drink or use or whatever and lay it down.
Yep.
That's a fact.
For sure.
Other people cannot.
Cannot.
If they have the addiction gene. And I've seen that having family members who are addicted personalities, and it's horrible to witness. So
it's always tragic.
It is tragic, and they fight those demons all their life. You know, we kind of laugh, I can't stand the taste of any alcohol. And most people that, they would go around at a party and finish all the wine glasses, you know. It's like, you left wine in your glass? There's something wrong with you. But I have plenty of codependency issues.
Sure.
So, and if I had a need, like with cancer treatment, I would be fine with using medical marijuana for that issue. But I just wanted today to make sure that we do our part as a city to not be blinded to the fact that we need to make sure, and I think we need to contact our legislators too. We cannot give less money to treatment and expect to succeed. People need help, and a lot of them need it now. So I want to thank you for coming and putting yourself out there. And Don, did you want to say a little something?
Yes, I do. My name is Don McGee. I live at 3802 Southeast Birchard Court in Lawton, Oklahoma. I'm also a retired police officer. After I retired from the police department, I worked on the school systems around the area. And particularly when you talk about using the THC in edible products, in my experiences, personal experiences dealing in the schools around here, I have actually seen students go home, mix up the cookies with the THC in them with their parents and bring them to school. And when one little person walked in the school, it was like the candy just arrived. And the kids were running around them, paid their money, got their cookies. Within 2 or 3 hours, 3 of them were in the hospital. Because you're not going to put a cookie in front of me and me just ate one bite. And if you take that brownie, you think it's going to be cut into 100 pieces, that's not going to happen. And they were treated at the hospital. One of them had to stay. So the packaging and stuff like that is deceptive. It's deceptive, and I think you have to be really, really careful. And I understand. I have family members who had terminal illnesses, and whatever, I would have done anything for them to get rid of that pain. But we're not talking about them as much as we are the people who have the addictive personalities, the people who suffer like me. Once I got to drinking, I couldn't stop. And when you start introducing that to kids at that early age, especially, and one thing that Alicia didn't say, in the ages 18 to 24, a lot of these kids are ingesting a lot of marijuana, and a lot of the damage that is done is permanent. That's with them the rest of their life. It will never go away. So are they responsible enough? Are they informed enough to know what they're getting themselves into? That's all I really wanted to say.
Thank you, Don. It lowers IQ, which can never be in those age groups too, that can never, and we don't, you know, we're dealing with parents too that are not well educated in a lot of cases about this, so they need to know.
Once you have the disease of alcoholism, drug addiction,
That's
whatever,
right.
it's permanent. Yeah. And it doesn't go away. You don't graduate. You carry that the rest of your life. So you got to make good choices early in your life. Yeah.
All right, thank you for coming. Alicia, thank you very much. And Ms. Hankins, did you have anything else on this item or no action? Okay, ready to go. Thank you guys very much. And with that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted with one motion. So should discussion be desired on an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda prior to action and considered separately. Council, we're striking item 11 and 12 on the consent agenda, as well as 23 on the business agenda. We're pulling item 9 and 14 on the consent agenda. Is there anything else you'd like to pull or strike?
14, can you tell me those again?
11, 12, and 23 we strike, and we pull 9 and 14.
23, right?
23.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of items 11, 12, and 23, which are stricken, and we pull item number 9 and 14.
Do we have a second? And a second. Please vote.
Tim, under the same motion, can we strike a business item along with the consent agenda? There's my concern. I think that's not right.
Okay, we can redo that. I mean, that's
23 is what concerned me, that would be illegal.
Okay.
That's my only concern.
Mine's not working.
Randy, Jay has raised a question. Item 23 is actually a new business item, so we probably need to amend your motion not to include item 23.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of items 11 and 12, which are stricken, if that's a word, and pull item number 9 and 14.
So the amended motion is to strike approve the consent agenda but striking items 11 and 12 and pulling 9 and 14. Who seconded that? Are you okay with that amended motion? Please vote.
Okay, I'll just call roll since nobody's,
She gonna call the roll?
okay, Harris, Chapman, Burke, Hampton, Fortenbaugh, Johnson, Warren, Hankins.
The motion carries. That brings us up to item number 9. Consider approving a request by the Fit Kids Coalition of Southwest Oklahoma for the City of Lawton to waive fees for the Lawton Fort Sill All Trails Festival event scheduled for June 17th and 18th to include the provision of necessary services as appropriate. Mr. Hampton.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. It is no doubt that with the COVID and everybody being inside, that anything that comes up for us to, any event that comes up for us to get outside and interact with each other is pretty important and fantastic. You'll hear more about this, but I just wanted to encourage everybody to come out and have fun and exercise. This event is a great event that's been put together. Go ahead, Richard.
I'll just start off by saying that let's focus on the matter at hand is the city sponsorship, making this a city-sponsored event, and the specifics to that event. I mean, the Trails Fest is a huge event for the area, but specifically to the city of Lawton, there is an event on Elmer Thomas Park with an estimated cost to the city of $512. So it's a pretty inexpensive impact because it's all located in the park. There's a run and an event kind of like Open Streets. There's basically a family event on Friday the 17th. That's really the only impact to the city, or that the city sponsorship would have. There's also some other events at Cameron. There's the Tour of the Wichita starts on Post, and then there is an event actually out at there's an equestrian event out at Lake Ellsworth, where they're actually cleaning up helping the city clean up the trash. So it's actually kind of a give. In fact, they'll be out there on Trash Off cleaning up that area. So that's the area that impacts the city. Now, in terms of the Trails Fest event itself, I mean, this has been Dr. Cooper has been on this for like 4 years. He's been on our backs to get this thing going, and I think this year Deborah pulled it off. So I would just hand it over to her.
It's a Trails Fest, but really it's a festival of us. Little trip in history for y'all. 15 years ago, Fit Kids came. We talked about a generation of children whose life expectancy wouldn't be that of their parents because of obesity and activity. But I think what we did uniquely was it's not a hospital issue. It's a city issue. It's a Cameron issue. It's a refuge issue. It's Fort Sill. And so we were, I think, pretty uniquely came together, and everybody came together to do what we could. And part of that was sidewalks, part of that's bike trails, part of that's Lawton, I think, was one of the first cities in Oklahoma to be certified healthy at the gold level. Tobacco bans, we did a bunch. And so this is really just a chance to, Fort Sill's got a role in this, Refuge has got a role in this, the cities, the county, Cameron, we're all coming together to say, hey, here's a place to go out and have fun, be active. And it's, again, a celebration of us. And then Deborah can give you some more of those details.
Dr. Cooper, Deborah?
All right, so this is a Fit Kids organized event, but it's highlighting all of those partners that have been critical to Fit Kids throughout the many, many years of existence. Everybody we've talked to has said, why haven't we done this before? And so it's highlighting outdoor recreation and healthy living across our area. There's plans each year to expand a little bit more, to bring in some of our other adjacent communities and highlight, other activities and trails that we have available. But certainly we have Mountain Bike Club of the Wichitas. They're going to be doing mountain bike skills riding at the course that's right along the river there in Medicine Park. They are actually providing bikes and helmets for kids and those who need them on site. As they said, we're going to have some ponies for children. We have Bring Your Own Horse for the horseback ride at Lake Ellsworth. And on April 30th, is that the same day as Trash Off? April 30th is when the group is going to go out and clean all along the trail out there at Ellsworth. And so we also have the Tour of the Wichitas is kicking off these 2 days, on the Saturday. So it's June 17th and 18th. Information is found on Facebook on the Fit Kids of Southwest Oklahoma page. And certainly we're putting out press releases and information about how people can participate. Some of the things that really organized being able to pull this together was during COVID. We had been planning a 5K in Elmer Thomas Park to happen in 2020. And we still wanted to have something available to families, and even more so because there weren't many opportunities. And so we held it as a completely virtual event where they could sign up online. We had signage along the park in Elmer Thomas, but they can come and go throughout 3 days on their own and basically just submit a photo and a hashtag or something like that, or an email to show that they participated. So when we moved to 2021, we were still halfway ready, and so we did it actually as a hybrid event. We had volunteers in the park with water and motivation, and we had some local youth groups and schools who were able to be there to motivate the people participating. But we noticed with first-time events we had done that way, we had over 300 people participate, and they were people when we asked, is this something you usually do? And it wasn't. It was people walking their dogs, it was people with strollers, it was grandparents and grandkids. And so we knew that we wanted an opportunity that was not a cost to participate and that presented all different ability and age levels. And so that's what we've tried to combine with all the different areas that are going to be sites for Saturday. Friday evening, as Richard said, in the park at Elmer Thomas, they can pick up a passport. So we will have 3 events in the park that evening. One is the library is going to use their story walk along Lake Helen. And so again, it's a paved path. They'll have some scavenger hunt fun. You can get your passport punched at that. We'll have a 5K fun run or walk also in the park that night. And then just a leisurely bike ride. And so that'll kind of close out that, and then Saturday they can travel all throughout the areas with our partners. MWR on Lettra is going to waive some fees with the passport. Cameron is our closeout site. Saturday evening we'll have some raffle prizes and an art contest pertaining to their favorite part of the weekend. Friends of the Wichitas and the Refuge, of course, are highlighting a couple of hikes in the Refuge and talking about conservation. The open streets, actually, we're going to have a soft launch, and so the vendors that are typically on C Avenue are going to be present in Elmer Thomas Friday night to have some activities for families. And then we will plan to have a full open streets hopefully this fall. The aquarium in Medicine Park is also participating. And then finally, the TSET Healthy Living program at the Comanche County Memorial Hospital, who's giving us a little bit of funding as well to provide passports and some medals and things. So thank you very much.
Okay,
Any
sounds like
questions?
fun. Any comments?
Could I just say one thing? If you've never worked with Dr. Cooper, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. But 15 years ago, when we started working on stuff like this, we didn't have anything in Lawton for Fit Kids. It was just something new. We didn't have anything. And with his leadership and the leadership at Memorial and all the people that came together, Richard has come on board with the bike paths and so many things and working so hard with the city. This is a great event. TSET's been wonderful for us. We got the largest grant ever, so we got the lights in the park, and we did so many things with that TSET money. It's just been an honor, and you guys do amazing work, and you're just amazing anyway. So I think that anyway. But anyway, you guys do a great job, and thank you so much for putting these events together.
Well, heck, that needs a round of applause. I will make one comment before we get a motion. The kids' health is even affecting recruiting in the military, and Colonel Taylor might like to weigh in on that. How's that for putting you on the spot, sir?
No, that's fine. Each year, the available population of recruits goes down and down. I mean, in the past, there was 70% availability with the obesity, and actually some of the legalizing marijuana is making challenges also for recruiting. But health is always a part of that, and healthy diet and everything. And the more we promote that in the communities, the more opportunities we have to recruit healthy applicants, I guess, willing to join our services. So no, you're exactly right.
All right, thank you, Colonel. Ms. Johnson, did you want to say something?
No, just wanted to echo, you guys are doing an amazing job, and this is going to be a wonderful event. And with that being said, I make a motion to accept item number 9.
Have a motion for approval and a second. Discussion or debate? Please vote.
Is anything lit up? Nope. Okay. I don't know what's going on. Chapman? Yes. Burke? Yes. Hampton? Yes. Fortenbaugh? Yes. Johnson? Yes. Warren? Yes. Hankins? Yes. Harris?
Yes. The motion carries. Moves us to item number 14. Consider award of construction contract to T&G Construction, Inc. for project EN 2002A, pavement resurfacing of Lee Boulevard, Phase 1, from Southwest 67th Street to Southwest 97th Street, and you knew I was going to pull this. Joe Painter.
You should have let me go first. That's kind of a hard act to follow. Mayor and Council, so we finally bid Lee Boulevard resurfacing from Goodyear to 67th Street. T&G was our low bidder. We got a very good price, $2.85 million. And the main thing to know about that is we have a grant for $2 million that will be reimbursed after we spend the funds. We'll get $2 million of that back.
All right, so we're getting started this time. The weather's in our favor.
Weather's perfect.
This one's going to happen. Can you tell me the day construction is going to start? I want to be out there and dance.
I don't have the exact day yet.
Okay.
We need to have a pre-work and meet with the contractor, and we'll set that date.
All right, well, it's real exciting. It's been a long time coming, and do I have a motion for approval?
I'd make
Motion
a
to.
Oh, go ahead.
We're all so excited. Motion to approve item number 14.
Second. Motion for approval and a second. Discussion or debate, comments?
I would just say it was interesting today. I had a customer come in, and while he was waiting on his vehicle, he said, "Hey, when are y'all going to do something about Lee Boulevard?" And I said, "Well, I believe we're going to start on it tonight." So this makes me very happy also.
And we call on the roll? Mm-hmm. Okay, call the roll, please.
Burke? Yes. Hampton? Yes. Fortenbaugh? Yes. Johnson? Yes. Warren? Yes. Hankins? Harris? Chapman?
And the motion carries. Hallelujah. Thank you. That moves us to item number 25. Consider approving an ordinance amending Section 2310-368, Division 2310, Article 23, Chapter 2, Lawton City Code 2015 as amended, pertaining to the powers and duties of the Parks and Recreation Commission, and amending said section to allow for the city manager or his or her designee to establish and change operating hours of buildings, structures, facilities, athletic areas, and other improvements on park areas without the consent of the commission, providing for severability, establishing an effective date, and allowing for floor amendments. Christine.
Good afternoon, council. Apologize, allergies. Join the club, right? The Parks and Rec Commission met on March 16th regarding some of their policies and procedures. One of their procedures was that the Parks and Rec Commission were the ones in charge of setting hours to park facilities, so the rec centers, the pools, stuff like that. And then all their recommendations had to be approved by council. So when we found this in the policies and procedures, I know city manager and I were like, this is probably a more of an administrative type duty and not a duty that needs to be done by the Parks and Rec Commission and then seconded by or approved by the council. There are several circumstances where a rec center, for example, may have to close early because of the inclement weather that we had. Per the regulations, we were supposed to meet with the Parks and Rec Commission and then get it approved by council to close the building early. And it just seems like more to go through than really what should be. Again, same thing with the pools, different parks. That should probably be more of administrative duty if that's what you guys see fit. But that's all that's changing is just in the code, the Parks and Rec Commission's policies and procedures, just to let city manager or his designee designate the times and operating hours of park-type facilities and buildings.
Okay, questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion for approval and a second. Discussion or debate?
Yes, Mayor, I have to discuss some things on this. First of all, when this was put into the agenda booklet, a new copy of this ordinance was put in there without highlighting any of the markups or changes to it. So I had to go search for the old one. We did get one today, and if I read this, basically what's changing is we're withdrawing any approval by the City Council and the consent of the Parks and Rec Commission. So we're going to bypass all of that. I get your point about some things should be able to be decided very quickly, and I agree with that, and I trust the city manager or yourself. Inclement weather, yeah, shut it down. But when we're making a permanent change to something, we can't bypass the system. I know it's slow, I know it takes forever, and then you don't know what we're going to do, but that's the part that we're completely short-circuiting the system, and we cannot get in the habit of doing that. So I would make a substitute motion that we deny this and keep the existing ordinance.
Okay, we have a substitute motion to deny and keep it as is, just to deny the recommendation, right?
Yes.
Keep it the way it is. Is there a second? I'll second that. We have a second by Mr. Harris. So we deal with the substitute motion, and the motion is to deny the item. Is there discussion or debate?
Yeah, I just wanted to make one comment. I can see what allergies. I can see what Councilman Fortenbaugh's talking about, and possibly this might be one of those situations where we need to send it back to legal and maybe split the baby, where we allow temporary changes to be made at the administrative level. And I don't know, we can figure out what temporary is, but any permanent change in operation times would have to come through the commission and then through the council, simply because I can foresee a time. I mean, I agree. I don't think Michael or staff is going to do anything unreasonable, but that doesn't mean that at some point citizens may feel like it is unreasonable. And at that point, then it comes to us, then we have to do that again. So if we could send it back and get it written so that temporary changes that are only lasting for, I don't know, 90 days or whatever, would be allowable at the administrative level, and then changes that would be a permanent time, opening time or closing time, would have to go through the commission and the council. I don't know how to make that happen, or if that's what anybody would be interested in.
And just to make sure, and I'm not sure if I said it before, but the Parks and Rec Commission did approve this back on March 16th. So just put it out there.
Okay, now let me just make a comment. If we want to go there, the rules only allow us to have one substitute, so we'll need an amendment of the substitute if we're to do what you say. Now, the challenge is, if we vote this down, unless we waive the rules, it can't be revisited for 6 months. Mr. Hampton.
Yes, I want to just weigh in and say, I do understand that it's important that the administration has the ability to exercise the authority to shut them down for various reasons, like was spoken, and that's important. So I sort of agree with what was just said by Councilman Warren. I want to weigh in to say this. I think that it's very, very important, and everybody knows that I take my responsibility serious, just like everybody else up here, that when the citizens are actively using different facilities and whatnot and engaging in those facilities, I think that they need to have a voice for a voice in that, and it needs to come to the council, because the council is the voice for the citizens. So, along with the commission. So, I agree with the Councilman Warren that maybe this needs to be, what'd you say, split the baby?
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There was another light on down here. Ms. Johnson.
I agree with both council members. And if the commission has agreed not to continue with that responsibility, I do think that it still needs to come to us to make, because we are the voice, and we want to make sure that the citizens feel that they still have a say-so. Again, not that we think that you guys are going to do anything, but we're not always going to be here. So that's just my opinion.
If I could, can we just, instead of having the substitute motion, can we pull this so that we can take it back to legal, get that change, and then that way we don't screw ourselves up? I mean, I think that's probably, I don't disagree with you.
I think we can amend the substitute motion to table and send back to legal. Would that be?
Yeah, I think that'd be better.
Would that solve our problem? Will you make such an amendment? Okay, so we're amending the substitute motion to send to table and send back to legal.
I would say just to table this for 30 days, send it back to legal, maybe look at adding the language that Mr. Warren talked about, and then bring it back for approval.
Okay, now, you seconded that. Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Okay, so we have a new motion to send back to legal for some amendments as discussed.
Just a question, did this start off being because of any kind of emergencies? Like you were saying, the weather, or maybe a big water leak would flood a building or something like that?
No, this is really just an administrative task.
Okay.
We started looking through the policies and procedures of the Parks and Rec Commission. They have historically kind of been a youth sports commission, and so we're trying to get them back on track to actually do Parks and Rec. And what the commission was, set up to do. And so some of that was just the housekeeping, looking at the policies and procedures, and looking at things that say, we may want to tweak and stuff like that. This goes, these hours of operations would be, the pools, the splash pads, the parks, the recreation centers, ball fields, anything like that. That kind of falls under the parks preview.
I would add, I completely agree with the council's amended guidance. It was never intended to circumvent council's control authority at all. It really was intended to, and probably could have been written a little differently, for temporary measures. For example, we had a playground set that broke. Well, we have to shut that portion of the park down. And in the case if it's a small park, we might have to shut the whole park down. If a water main ruptures in a building, have to close the building. Those are all administrative, but they're not permanent. They're not long-term changes. So I completely agree with council's guidance. We'll take that back to legal and have it amended and bring it back to council.
Mr. Harris.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we cannot write into the existing guidelines, under these circumstances, whoever's in charge of that facility can close the facility. So if there is a broken water line, inclement weather, whatever, can we not give them that authority? Maybe write that into what we're going to do, or is that?
Tim can weigh in on
Yeah,
this.
we've got legal comment here.
Ultimately, the city manager, as the head CEO, for lack of a better word, over all the city employees, can delegate that authority to a building manager or whatever. So I think the way we're talking, Michael could give that authority and they would act on his authority. So I think we're covered there. Yeah.
Okay, let's call the roll. What you're voting on, by the way, is to send this to legal. Send this to legal with some changes as discussed by council. And there were so many, I can't repeat them, so they get to watch the video. Please call the roll.
And we're tabling for 30 days. That's what the motion.
30 days.
Fortenbaugh. Johnson. Warren. Hankins. Harris. Chapman. Burke. Hampton.
That motion carried. Now we move on to 26. Consider approving an ordinance amending the employee retirement system, defined contribution plan for the position of city manager for the city of Lawton, Oklahoma, by adopting a revised and restated retirement plan, providing retirement benefits for the eligible employee serving in the position of city manager of the city of Lawton, Oklahoma, providing for purpose and organization, providing for definitions, providing for eligibility and participation, providing for non-alignment of benefits, providing for employer and employee contributions, providing for accounting, allocation, and valuation, providing benefits, providing for required notice, providing for amendments and termination, providing for transfer to and from other plans, creating a retirement committee, and providing for powers, duties, and rights of retirement committee, providing for payment of certain obligations, providing for duration and payment of expenses, providing for effective date, providing for vesting schedules, providing for a fund to finance the system to be pooled with other incorporated cities, towns, and their agencies and instrumentalities for purposes of administration, management, and investment as part of the Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund, providing for payment of all contributions under the system of the Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund for management and investment, providing for repealer and severability, adopting those amendments mandated by the Internal Revenue Code, and declaring an emergency, and authorizing the execution of said ordinance to include the attached joinder agreement and any other documents authorized by the ordinance as necessary. That was a mouthful.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is just kind of hear about it a council meeting ago or two. We had to amend the current pension system that's on the OKMRF for general employees for all the new hires. This one is just, we didn't include the city manager's retirement in that, so that's just what this is. This is just an every 6-year update to this pension system from OKMRF for the city manager.
Any questions?
And so this, since this is an ordinance, we'll need the motion to approve the ordinance, waive the reading of the ordinance and the title only. And this is an emergency, so that needs to be included in the motion.
So moved.
So a motion is made to adopt the ordinance, waive the reading of the ordinance, read the title only, declare an emergency with said ordinance to become effective immediately after passage, and authorize the execution of said ordinance to include the attached joinder agreement and any other documents authorized by the ordinance as necessary. Is there a second? Second. And we do have a second. Discussion or debate? Please call the roll.
I've got to read it.
Oh, we've got to read it.
Okay, so this is an ordinance amending the employee retirement system defined contribution plan for the position of city manager for the city of Lawton, Oklahoma by adopting a revised and restated retirement plan, providing retirement benefits for the eligible employees serving in the position of city manager of the city of Lawton, Oklahoma, providing for purpose and organization, providing for definitions, providing for eligibility and participation, providing for non-alienation of benefits, providing for employer and employee contributions, providing for accounting, allocation, and valuation, providing benefits, providing for required notice, providing for amendments and termination, providing for transfer to and from other plans, creating a retirement committee, and providing for powers, duties, and rights of retirement committee, providing for payment of certain obligations, providing for duration and payment of expenses, providing for effective date, providing for vesting schedules, providing for a fund to finance the system to be pooled with other incorporated cities, towns, and their agencies and instrumentalities for purposes of administration, management, and investment as part of the Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund, providing for payment of all contributions under the system to the Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund for management investment, providing for repealer and severability, adopting those amendments mandated by the Internal Revenue Code, and declaring an emergency.
Please call the roll.
Hankins? Harris? Chapman? Burke? Hampton? Fortenbaugh? Johnson? Warren?
Motion carries. Item number 27, discuss the conditions of the drainage channel located on the west side of Northwest Sheridan Road at approximately the 600 block, just south of Northwest Ferris Boulevard. Consider directing the staff to work with adjacent property owners to obtain the necessary easements and perform the necessary design for the city to reconstruct the channel such that it properly drains and can be more easily maintained. Richard.
Yes, this is tricky, kind of one of those tricky little items here. If you look at the map, you can see this is Numa Creek back here, and this is Sheridan Road on this side. Okay, and the channel in question is this link between the two. There's a box culvert outlets here from underneath Sheridan Road. It's a double 6x3, which is it's a big box culvert. It's got a drainage area of about 211 acres somewhere up in here that drains to that location. And, you know, that water has to get to there. Somehow or another, when this stuff developed, they just sort of developed around that area. There's no channel easement. There's no easement for that channel. So right now, this is simply a private drainage channel. There are 3 separate parcels. I don't really think they own much of the channel. I think the channel is on the property of this property and the apartment property. You know, it's hard to tell, but the property line runs pretty much right down this edge line here and kind of does that. But I believe it runs right along the edge of this parking lot. It's a very narrow channel in through here, and then it gets wider on this area here. So here's the problem. That's the problem. This is looking back towards Sheridan Road. You can see the box culvert right there. You know, because it was just sort of a there channel. It was there's no. I mean, it's 259 CFS in the design capacity. Could be more now, but that's a lot of water that comes through this channel. There was never built with a liner, a trickle liner, no concrete. It's just sort of between 2 points. So we have a bit of a mess here. Currently, because this channel is on private property, the city cannot maintain it. Our options are to send letters, which we have sent some, and they've cleaned it up some amount, but this channel needs a lot more work than just picking up trash and cleaning it up. It needs some serious work. So we brought this to y'all to say, what's the direction? Now, I did have Larry Walcott look at this, Larry and his staff. You know, just eyeballing it, we can't really tell you exactly what it needs, but for sure it needs a minimum of a trickle liner, which is built through here, which is basically a concrete bottom of the channel we put in. And it's about 5 foot wide, right? 5 foot wide? Yeah, and what that does is it maintains a straight bottom edge, so it doesn't hold water like that. So once you have a straight bottom edge, it'll get drained out. The most you'll hold is like a quarter inch, half inch. So that'll get straightened up. But up in this area in here where it's very tight, it may be that you actually need bank protection because it's so close. That you might need to do the whole thing. If it's just a trickle liner, cost is about $200,000. If it's to build a whole trapezoidal channel, the cost is about $500,000 to correct this. But again, it's currently a private channel, but it's a little link between two very large two public areas. So it's our water. This is our public roadway, this is our public channel, and this is the link between the two. It's a tricky little spot. Let me see. So one of the thoughts that I had, if the city was if your direction to us was to look at looking at the city making some corrections here, we would attempt to gain easements from the property owners. We certainly wouldn't want to buy them. We would attempt to gain easement, and that easement would be something to the extent of, okay, we'll put the concrete in and we maintain the concrete, but you still maintain anything that's not concrete. You keep it clean, you mow it, you keep it area, because the area back here gets pretty big, and you do have the apartment complex owns that property. They can do it. Anyway, that was the theory. But anyway, that's what
Mr. Burke. He knows I don't agree with that. But on the east side, when we did 45th Street, if you remember, we were going to do the same thing. We were going to build a channel to go down the side of the road. And every time we build a channel like that, guess what ends up happening? Go out on Rogers Lane and look at the channel that's built going east, that channel that goes underneath Rogers Lane, and it's a big concrete channel and it looks like crap. Right? We can never maintain it. We try. Our maintenance guys go out there and mow a few feet on each side. Grass grows up, looks terrible, always looks terrible forever.
Yeah.
And then Lita complains about it constantly to city, and city goes out there, Michael, and they mow it because Jay always calls it in 400 times a year. So why don't we do what we did on 45th, which is we went underground and we covered it back up, and we made it where it just looks like it's underground drainage that we don't have to worry about, because these people, and I understand your thought, is put this concrete in and let them maintain the outside edges. Okay. You and I both know that we're going to all be calling in constantly to say they're not taking care of it. Am I right?
It'll look better than that.
Well, anything will look better than that. I agree with you 1,000%. But if the city council used to clean this.
The cost doubles.
Trash off.
To go underground, the cost
I know.
doubles.
I get that. But then your beautification part is done forever. You don't ever have to worry about that.
I forgot to mention, you are obviously underground at Sheridan Road.
Yes.
And this area here goes underground.
Exactly.
So this whole section there is underground. So you'd really
couldn't you just tie that together
from that point to that point.
Except, Richard, that last place that you did your little thing there, the drainage culverts are higher than the creek bed.
Well, yeah. So,
but unless we have a lot of water coming through, that's not a problem.
The first thing we're going to have to find, generally, I mean, I almost, so if any engineer, I mean, again, the apartment complex, was designed, this crossing was designed by an engineer, and this was already there. So I'm guessing that even though the channel is very rough right now, and because it's a natural channel, when the water is rushing through there as fast as it is, it's scouring up the dirt, it's digging holes, it's doing all kinds of stuff. Pushing piles of dirt over this way, it's very active because it's unlined. It's a natural. The velocity in that channel exceeds the design velocity for an earthen channel. So it would never be designed that way. But as long as you have it down, as long as this outlet is higher than that inlet, I can make it work.
It seems like we are finding things that were done years ago, decades ago, and now we're trying to fix it.
Yeah.
And I invite all of you to go walk that creek that area, because it is really, really nasty. It smelled, the mosquitoes, I mean, you've got the picture. My question is, Are we going to have to rob Peter to pay Paul to find the money to do anything like this? Because this is, I mean, where is the money coming from is my concern.
I think Lita should pay for it.
So, yeah,
You understand what I'm saying? Because this wasn't the city's fault, but now we're having to inherit this problem of complaints of people and businesses that live in that area. And I'm just worried about the money.
And I'm going to say one more thing, but you go out east by MacArthur High School, it's exactly the same way. The left-hand side is not done, and look at what it looks like. We get complaints all the time on the left-hand side of MacArthur High School. Go to the right-hand side where we put it underground, you don't even know it's there.
Yeah.
You never have a problem again. It's gone. It's complete. And we always do things kind of willy-nilly. And then we end up having to maintain it ourselves. We're going to have to maintain this, and you know it. And so the true cost is not just in what it costs to put it underground, Mr. City Manager. It's what's it going to cost us to maintain it for the rest of our lives.
Councilman Burke is right that we need to start doing things that we don't have to keep on revisiting. I mean, we're shooting ourselves in the foot by doing that. Richard, so this is private property, really? All of this is private property?
Yes, all of that area there is private. All that area is private property. We did a little research. I don't know how it got that way. I mean, you know, it's not the way you do stuff these days.
It just happened.
You know, it's unsubdivided property, and as you will see, you know, the very next item, when things happen without that subdivision process, these things get missed, and they just get
legally, so as we look at this, I mean, the way that this is developed, legally, it's the responsibility of the property owners to do this. And so the question that we're looking at is who's going to pay for this? And obviously, they want the city to pay for it. It has to be fixed right, no doubt.
Yeah.
And have they offered any responsibility at all for even part of this problem?
You know, obviously this has been going on for a while. Now, I will tell you that I was, you know, I've been speaking to people about this channel since it was Hastings. I mean, it's been an issue for a long, long time. But it's again, I can't fix it.
Well, when they speak, are they speaking like it's your problem, not ours?
They're asking, you know, they're saying, gee, it'd be nice if it wasn't our problem. Well, I guess what the issue is now is the problem is bigger than, you know, that the individual folks can really handle. It's become a big problem. And, you know, if it, you know, it's kind of like, this is definitely a policy thing. This is not, there's no right, there's no wrong here, but, you know, all the water in the channel comes from the community. It's, you know, if it was just these properties draining into that channel, it'd be, you know.
Well, you're basically saying this is
a little swale.
You're saying this is part of the watershed of Lawton.
Yes.
And in that this water's going to flow there anyways. So in essence, what we're posed with is that because it wasn't designed and it just sort of happened, then the citizens have to pay for that.
Well, more or less. I mean, if we were doing this, if we were doing Sheridan Road today, we'd build that 6x2 outlet, and we'd say, okay, well, I got to build this channel all the way to Numa Creek, and we'd build the channel all the way to Numa Creek, or underground pipe it. We'd do something all the way till it was done properly. In this case, you know, it was outlet to that ditch, and you know that's how it is. I mean, I don't know what the condition of it was when it was originally built. It's been there for a very long time. Longer than I've been here, and I've been here for 20 years. So,
for sure, this is an easement, city easement.
There is no easement there.
Okay.
We've done this research several times.
Mr. Warren.
As usual, I'm going to complicate this even more. Okay. What concerns me is we are talking about private property. We're not talking about an easement or a right-of-way. We're talking about private property. Now, in the next breath, we're talking about spending $500,000 of citizens' money that is already earmarked for something else. We don't know yet what that is earmarked for, but it's already earmarked for something else because we're not talking about a windfall that we got and how do we spend it. We're talking about we need to do this, but we got to steal the money from someplace else. Now, let's say we make that happen, how many other people are there in Lawton, Oklahoma that have issues on their private property that will then legally have the ability to say, why not me? I don't know how we can do work on private property. I mean, I know we would have to convince them to give us an easement, and then we would do it. But in order for us to do that, we're going to have to spend that money that was earmarked for something else. And we're going to be spending that on somebody's private property. Now, is it fixing a problem that affects everybody? Kinda. I mean, the stench and the way it looks and stuff doesn't affect everybody, but the flow of the water does. Now, would we have the ability, I mean, and the way that works is there would have to be a vote of the affected individuals, but would there be a way to designate an area that is improved by the installation of this that could become a taxing district that would pay for the installation of that on an easement then?
Yes, I mean, we've discussed it a couple of times here. We haven't done one in the 20 years I've been here, but it's called an improvement district. In this case, you know, the channel, if the channel benefits the adjacent properties, you would have those two adjacent properties. This one is actually giant. That would cover it. Basically, I think you put it on 15 years and the ad valorem for 15 years. You would put that cost on there. So that is an option to the council in terms of funding this.
Because our only other option, council, that I can see is for us to stringently enforce that the owners of that property keep it up. And by that, I mean to the point of, because I guess we're talking about maybe some corporations there, to the point of they get a cease and desist letter, and then if they don't comply, then we close them down. And I don't know if that's something that we want to even broach, but that's the only other way to fix it. I mean, one of the two things has to happen. Either the citizens of Lawton have to pay for that, one of the three things. The citizens of Lawton have to pay for it. The citizens that are affected by it have to pay for it, or the easement owners get held responsible for it. And it's truly not really their fault that it's not lined. I mean, it's their fault that it's not mowed and weed-eated, but so is that complicated enough?
So I've got a question for you, because, I mean, I appreciate what you've said. The thing about this that has caught my attention was when Richard told me that if Sheridan Road would have been built today, this would have been handled in the construction process. Have I misquoted you?
Yes, typically, so
yes,
we would
I have
not,
misquoted you?
Yeah, we would not, no, you haven't misquoted me. Yes, I agree with you. No, you wouldn't put a double, 6x3 outlet, box culvert outlet, and have no channel that gets it wherever it's supposed to go. I mean, you basically take the water to where it needs to be, and then we're going. Like for in this case, we'd have got it to Numa Creek, and then we're good with it now. It's good from there on. It's going to go its own route. But that outlet, that box outlet in that little channel, it nearly never did work. So it wasn't a good plan.
So if Sheridan Road was being built today, it would have at least had a trickle liner in it. Is that what you're saying? Or it would have had a box
Something
culvert?
like that, yeah. It would have had some kind of an improved channel.
Okay.
And it maybe, I don't know how long it's been, and maybe all the improvement washed away, but I mean, you would have put some sort of an improved channel on there.
So I guess I'm just wondering how that plays into it, and I'm not real sure. Mr. Fortenbaugh?
I also walked that channel like, well, I was going to call you Miss Hankins, Miss Johnson. It's very treacherous. Oh, good. I'm surprised you didn't break an ankle or something walking through there, but it's in bad shape. It's not maintained, lots of trash. And the way I look at this, right now, the private property owners are responsible for that, and it's costing the city zero to maintain it, even though they're not doing the right thing. Do we want to invest $500,000 to get them off the hook and then pick up another thing that we have to maintain? My other kind of related concern, there's lots of places in Lawton that flood right now routinely when we get heavy rainfall. are we looking at anything to help them out, to improve their drainage? And I don't think it floods right there, but everybody's going to want flood mitigation after this. They're going to want the city to fix their private drainage.
Well, I don't disagree with anything you just said, other than it's not this. So this is actually standing water. It's a little different. So when you say flood, to me, it's like while it's raining, the water gets this high, and I'm flooding. In this case, after it's done, this water stands there for a long period of time, and we really shouldn't have that. I mean, we do have it in some places, and we're working on repairing those. Some of those public channels are holding water, and we're working on a very long one on the northwest part of town. But what you don't want is standing water. I mean, it's one thing to have everything flooded while it's raining, but you want it to drain away and be free of standing water, because that's what you get when you have standing water. It gets stinky and nasty. So, but you're right. There are other issues. There are other areas in town. This one, this is an issue that it needs to be resolved. We can do nothing. We can't not do nothing. Whatever. You know what I mean.
Can you mind?
Go ahead.
Randy, I agree with you in a lot of ways, because I had the same concerns with some areas that one was school land that we did, when we did 45th, but we've had some owners call us and say, hey, there's a drainage ditch culvert just recently, and the city manager, we had to all get involved in trying to do something on the east side for some residents. So, but my thinking is okay, why don't we try the what's it called?
Improvement district.
Tax improvement district. I mean, well, at least to see either A, they're willing to do it, or B, they're going to have to fix it. And I don't know how else to say it other than I do think we hold a little bit of responsibility, because we don't want the standing water there, and it stinks. They're right. And I would have loved to have seen these ladies walking down that little creek right there, but in the high hills, yes. But I do think, Randy, that's not a bad idea, and we've talked about that even for sidewalks in residential areas, doing something along those lines. So maybe this could be our first stab at it, trying to figure out how do we make this work. And again, they don't. I guarantee you, those business owners do not want to have to maintain that.
I've got a quick question after Mr. Hampton.
Yeah, I think that's the best solution for the options that we definitely have been given. But at the same time, I guarantee you, if I buy a piece of property and there's a problem on it, I know that there's a problem on it. So when they purchased that property, it wasn't like they didn't see that there was an issue there. And when they bought that, they bought it the way that it was. I do agree with the mayor that if it was done the way that they usually do it by engineering, then that's fine. But that wasn't the way it was done. When they went to go buy and do the abstract and all of that stuff to buy the property, they knew that was there. With that said, I do think that we do have a responsibility, because it's stinking and it has problems there. How much did you say it was going to cost to do the underground thing, the estimate?
I think the underground channel was about $900,000, I believe. Or
So $1 million
underground pipe to do the
looking
whole
at-
thing, because remember, it's a double 6x3. It's not a small amount of water, and that's right now we're talking about just very round numbers, because you have to do the engineering, but.
Right, and talking about these round numbers, we still have to come up with $1 million somewhere to do this, even if we do the tax increment. So we're spending that money now to fix it, and then they're going to pay us back over a certain amount of time. And how much time was that? How much time was that?
And again, I believe it's a 15-year turn. The process, 15-year turnaround. So the payment is assessed against them for over 15 years. And that's how it comes back, basically. But yeah, I think somebody pays for it up front, and then the property owners will refund that money over a period of 15 years. So yes, in this case, if the city did it, they would fund it up front. Now you could borrow the money and then get paid back by that. But I'm just saying, you fund it up front, and then the improvement district pays for it over the life of over that 15-year period, refunds you over 15 years. Otherwise, you have to wait 15 years in order to put the improvement in.
That's not the way I understood it. Let's check into that, because I felt like that when we were going to do the sidewalks, it was money we could draw from the tax base used that money and they paid it back as they paid their yearly taxes, right, for their property tax. So,
Somebody's got to pay for the work first.
well, no, that's what I'm saying. I think they
Either a
drew it.
loan Or the city pays for it, or the city takes out a loan.
Councilman Burke, you're saying that we take the money out of the ad valorem from the county, and then they pay it back, and we're not even involved.
That's the way I understood it from,
And certainly, you know,
back when we
if-
did the
if-
sidewalks.
If given direction, we would come back with a real clean
Maybe
answer,
we'd
but
understand
yeah.
it, maybe, you know, so we come back with a real idea.
Oh, the city manager's wanting to weigh in before we table it.
So, recently, we similarly abated a public nuisance on the road that leads to the post office. It's a private property, which presented a public nuisance. I asked Tim just a while ago, and I would like for legal to look into this, whether I have the authority to summarily abate a public nuisance, such as a drainage channel that's causing hazardous conditions to be maintained. If we could do that, and if we can do that, then there's some levying and some other things that would go along with that. So it may get us to a partial solution until we get to the point where we're able to, in futures, look at CIPs and start adding drainage issues or fixes to our future CIPs. I guess is my
Okay, thank you. Mr. Warren.
I just had one quick question that kind of went with the whole tax increment or whatever it's going to end up being. Is that something we could do in-house? Do you think we could put the trickle in? And because I don't know that we're going to be able to afford the $1 million.
We would have to contract. This would probably be contract work. It's a little more than we could do. Is that correct?
Yeah, the trickle channel would be pushing for the in-house. Anything beyond that, we contract. Okay, well, if we're going to have to contract it, then might as well just do it underground and be done with it. I'd make a motion that we table this, send it to staff to look at the different options on how to finance it, and the best way to alleviate the issue.
I have a motion and a second. Does everybody understand that motion without me repeating? Please call the roll.
Harris.
Yes.
Chapman. Burke.
Yes.
Hampton.
Yes.
Fortenbaugh. Johnson. Warren. Hankins.
Motion carries. Moves us to item number 28. Discuss water main installation along Southwest 67th Street, south of Southwest Bishop Road, and direct staff as necessary. Rusty.
This is bringing back an item that came to council in January, and with directing staff to look at the option one. There was 5 options presented at that meeting, of which basically option one was supposed to be on, but there we go. Reset it. So, but look at the construction cost and options of accomplishing the task. The project, if you remember, is located along south of Bishop Road and 67th Street down to Combs. This property was annexed some 40 years ago. There are 24 tracts of property on the west side with 21 individual owners. The problem that is occurring there now is they have a private water line, a 6-inch private water line that runs to the half-a-mile line, then it downsizes to 4-inch. They do not have fire flow. Since they are pre-existing buildings, they fall under basically a grandfather. They are permitted non-conforming structures. So the existing structures can stay, but according to code, no new structures can be permitted for construction. And that brings about the issue of the property owners out there. They cannot build any new structures. Now they can get a water meter with that private group to do irrigation, to water the cattle, to do that kind of stuff, but they cannot get a permit to build a structure. What we did is we are bringing back, this is the north quarter section with the property owners. You can see laid out here the property ownership in there. There's some of these properties that are basically landlocked in the middle of that quarter, half section, the north quarter section of that property. And if you go down to the south, there are larger, longer run tracts, but a property with a total of 21 ownerships, 24 tracts of property. The option one that was brought forth to council was to the cost of installation of a 12-inch water main from the existing city water main at Bishop and 67th Street south down to Combs Road. It would be in the statutory right-of-way. The cost at that time, we have bid some 12-inch projects since we had those numbers. Right now, the current price of a 12-inch water main is $182 a foot. So that cost of that project right there to go that mile section right there would be $844,000. It's a dead-end line, and that was one of the questions that came up. You would have weekly flushing on that line of 66,000 gallons of water a week. That's how much water you would be dumping on the ground to get the turnover in that water to keep it potable. So it'd be 60,000 gallons of water flushed weekly to maintain that. So that is option one. That is what we'd brought back before. What we had developed is how is an option two. It's not any cheaper, but it also addresses the issue of the fire flow. That option, previous option, only provides fire flow within 300 foot of that main. It does not provide fire flow beyond that point. The option two was broken up into three phases. This first phase has a cost of $1.4 million, but it provides fire flow to every track in that half-mile section. The lines, this layout of this line section here will get water, potable water with fire flow to the property lines of every property in that half section. But it comes with a cost of $1.4 million. The flushing, because it is still dead-end lines, you will have 70,000 gallons of water flushed per week, which is approximately $280 cost of that water loss. Phase two of that is to continue that existing. Phase one is to loop that line back up to Bishop Road and connect it back. That cuts down on your water loss and it allows for future growth to the west. It reduces the flushing down to 56,000 gallons, but that project has a cost of $730,000. The phase three is to loop the south section back. That has a cost of $1.6 million, which gives you a total cost of all three projects of almost $3.4 million. The options that were presented in last meeting was basically council has a decision. Is how they want to proceed on with. Basically, you have the do nothing option, which is these properties are continued to be fed by a private water line. No building permits will be issued for the properties. That's the do nothing option. Funding of at least the phase one water line of $844,000. That gets a potable water main. It gets water close to the properties, but it does not get fire flow to every property out there. Or you have the option of the phase two, the option two, the phase one gets fire flow to them, but you have a cost of $1.4 million. Or the other one is to really, the other option is that these people that are out there, for them to get to where they could get building permits, would be de-annexation.
Okay, I've got a question. Is this a new problem, or have they not been able to get permits for 40 years?
The problem is they were issued, some of them built without permits, some of them obtained building permits. The issue is that the prior and how they were issued building permits without looking at the fire flow of this has been in code for many, many years. But prior to the last few years, the issue has not been recognized, and that's why the existing ones are considered permitted non-conforming structures.
So, somebody told me just yesterday that this was because we passed whatever the most recent code was. That is not a correct statement.
That is not the issue. The
Okay,
fire flow requirements have been in existence for many, many years.
I just want to get on record, and I want to be able to answer that question. So if Michael would tell us how long this has been in the code, so that
the fire flow requirements have been in code ever since I've been in that office for 17, 18 years at a minimum, and I'm sure it goes back way before then.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I got a
This is kind of like, which eye do you want to poke us in?
There is no good solution. There is no good solution.
Managing the money for the city, and there's no way you're going to recover $1 million on the low side. You're not going to recover that because the population is so sparse.
Rusty, you're saying, I know we're dealing with some outside water cell stuff, and houses that we supply water to are supposed to be built to code, right?
Correct.
To our
Correct.
city code.
Correct.
So there's properties out here, houses out here, that we don't even know how they've been built to code or not, which is fire and everything. Is that correct?
I don't know the records of all the permitted structures. Now, the more recent structures, I'm sure they were built to code, but for some reason, the fire flow code was not looked at. They were not evaluated. And I don't know how recent that permit was.
Excuse me. But if they didn't get building permits, then we don't know how those houses are built.
That's
That
correct.
they didn't even
That's
go
correct.
pull building permits,
If
correct?
they were not inspected and building permits, we don't know how they were built.
And do we know how many houses out there are like that? by
We
chance?
don't. I don't think we know that either.
You know,
I think on those 21 tracks, I think there's only about six, 7 houses
Yeah.
out there. The rest of them are barns and outbuildings.
well, I drove out there, and people have bought these properties thinking that there were other houses, and it was in the city limits, and it was all going to be kosher, right? So
Similar to the drainage ditch.
exactly, same idea, right? It's just money if we say it quickly. But I think, to me, we de-annex this piece of property, and then they build. Go to these other communities all around us, and they don't have inspectors anyway. They don't have inspectors. They don't have inspectors in Elgin. They ain't got inspectors in. They build houses wherever. I know mechanically I don't have to get anything, no matter where I go. In a lot of communities, Lawton, yes. Duncan, yes. Altus, yes. But most of these little communities, no, they don't have it. So de-annex that and let them build. And let them get their own water line out there. They'll tap in, and some of these people are running 100 miles in a half-inch line. I don't know. They won't have any water flow, but they'll get it there. I've seen the craziest building stuff in my life doing electrical and mechanical over the last few years. And some of it I walk up and go, oh, my God. But it is what it is. It's the world we live in. And we're in Oklahoma. We're not in some big city. And so de-annex this thing and get it off our plate. And if they want to hook into the water line, they'll pay the water bill. I mean, what else can we do?
Yeah, so in the event that we de-annex this, I mean, we've got certain areas of this that are in the city limits that are not part of the city limits, and they don't follow code, right? I mean, our water resources found that out. So if we de-annex and the city builds that in that direction, then we would just leave that as a parcel that...
If this is de-annexed the water sales out there would have to move to an outside water sales agreement. And we're not doing those. They're on a moratorium. So, but this was, I think, if they came to y'all, that y'all would at least evaluate whether to continue to sell them water. Yes.
So why isn't an improvement district an option here? And have we discussed that? I mean, here's, I get a call from the developer to the north saying, why did I have to put in the main and you're going to put in the main for such few houses? And I was building a lot. He's got a point, doesn't he? He's got a point. So why can't we do an improvement district and let them pay it out over 15 years?
Yeah, so if you looked at this piece here, if you just did that one, you could do an improvement district and put it over this whole half a mile and that whole half a mile. It actually serves both sides of the road. That's not outrageous. I mean, you could do that. Once you get into this phase, so the problem you're going to have is this is, I don't know, what's that? It's about $600,000 worth of work?
Yes.
And you're putting it over like 6 houses, so it's darned expensive. You know what I mean is theoretically you could do an improvement district. I'm just saying that the cost you would apply to each individual lot is a lot. So if you did it on just that one 800,000 for 460 acres, or no, 640 acres, sorry, it probably works. It spreads out a little bit, but you know. That's the trick on this. I mean, you know, on the last item, you're talking about, you know, it's a pretty expensive little piece, but you're talking about very very expensive commercial properties. So it's possible that actually may pencil out, but on this one, it's going to be real difficult.
Are they wanting to do this because they're wanting to sell more lots or tracts or whatever you call it?
Yeah. So the history on this is
the idea.
Yeah, the history on this is it started off with, you know, an outside water sales agreement, and just like a lot of other things around the town. And so they built this 6-inch line, and they had an agreement with the city of Lawton for X number of taps. Then the property was annexed, and it's still that we just kept doing that agreement for a very long time. And then I can't remember, maybe 2017 or something like that. They came to council and said, well, we're in the city limits, so we don't need an outside water sales agreement. And that was kind of the first step towards problem, because prior to that, they were just, you know, when someone came in, they were just treated like it was an outside water sales agreement. And that's what you would do. Let's say they de-annexed and we re-entered into an outside water sales agreement, and the moratorium was lifted and they were in accordance with that. Then basically their properties would still have to be built to code. But the only thing they wouldn't have to do, since they're not served by Lawton Fire Department, they don't need to have the fire flow because they pretty much can't. When you're outside of a municipality, the only way you're having fire flow is if you have a big old pond and a pump truck. So that's kind of how this would go.
Yeah, well, Richard, and Rusty, so option one, we put that line in there and we just leave that. They still can't get building permits, is that correct?
If they were right up next to that line,
I'm talking about not the three.
Or if they could extended their own main from there and created fire flow, they could do that as well. At least building the arterial gives you a backbone that somebody can build from. But it's a lot of money to do all that for everybody.
And that was what, $280 a week that we have to do to flush that line?
About $280 a week, about 70,000 gallons a week flushing.
I never thought I'd say it, but I think I'm on the de-annex side. And I hate that.
Okay. One of the things I want to mention is funding. This is not program funding, and the only way to fund this is out of the water and sewer CIP. We have 25 projects identified for that money.
And water lines breaking all over town.
And water lines breaking all the time. So you'd have to be taking that money and reassigning.
I'm going to tell you, I hate the thought of de-annexing, but I don't know how we can look citizens in the face and say we're managing your money right.
Well, Mayor, so we de-annex, and in the future find money in the CIP to fix some of this stuff. I mean, is that an option?
I don't know why you would. I mean, if you're going to de-annex them, let them build. The people that have bought out there are wanting to build now. let them start building their homes, de-annex it and move down the road, because the one line doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's only 300 foot one way and 300 the other way, so that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, option one. Option two is very expensive. We're wasting a ton of water already, and unless we're willing to buy a pump truck and push it into the truck and take it down Cash Road and water the flowers, I don't know what we're going to do with all that water, but, you know, we can't build another pond like we did at the person to the north. So, you know,
Well, I was thinking that in the future, when we're all not going to be here, but in the future, if the city does expand in that direction and they want to start annexing that, let's say Avalon, Texas, then I'm just looking in the future as to what that situation would be. I guess we could go ahead and re-annex. They can in the future re-annex it if they need to and build that stuff out with the money they have, right? So, in other words, it's not the. I mean, it certainly is that we just don't have the money to do this. We're going to hurt.
Well, so I think somebody comes along and buys that across the road to the east and puts in something dense enough for them to put in a main. That's the only option I see. Those mains are expensive and have to be paid out through lots of accounts, not 20 or 30 or 40. I'm sorry, Mr. Warren.
Well, no, I was just going to mention, because if we went with the tax deal.
Improvement district?
Yeah, the improvement district, the whole crux of that is the affected property owners are the ones that have to vote to approve that. And you would have to have a majority of and it's a super majority, I think.
Well, it actually goes, you can go both ways. So they can petition, the owners can petition the city to do an improvement district, or the city can simply decide to do an improvement district, and then 51% of the owners have to oppose it.
The biggest thing we have to look at is what's the advantage of having them, even if it was a large development, inside the city limits. We don't get ad valorem to speak of. So there's no true advantage for us other than we'd like to have them in the city. But we don't have a big enough advantage to pay for $1 million.
No interest. They're not going to do that. That'd be just real rough. I just took 844 divided by 15 divided by 20. What'd you say?
24. I thought
24. And it's $23.44 a year. That's $200 a month. That doesn't include interest. I doubt seriously that they're going to vote to pay for that instead of pay rate and a half for water.
Plus their regular.
That's $840,000 for 6 customers, not 24. That's only 6. So it's about.
That are existing now. If it's 21 tracks.
21?
21 tracks.
So
There's
that'd
only
make it
6
even more.
homes, but there's 21 tracks.
Oh, so there'd be more money. So that's about 2,500.
So what do you want to do, council? You want to put it off and think about it 2 weeks, or you want to make a decision now? What?
I want to de-annex. Move on. We can't afford it.
Do we have to de-annex, or can we just not do anything?
I don't think we can't.
I think not doing anything's pretty cold-blooded.
Yeah.
Us not doing anything, they can petition to de-annex, if that's what they want.
But you have to actually take the action to de-annex, so.
I'm going to make a motion that we de-annex. That's the only way I can see to get this done. And then let these people, we got people that bought property that cannot build today.
If we can't, if we don't, we're just going to be back here again.
Exactly.
Okay, if we're going to make a motion to de-annex, I want it quantified by where, I want the boundaries.
Combs Road to 67th, the Bishop.
Okay.
Do you want to make a motion to have staff prepare that?
Okay.
How about okay.
The city limits.
Here, we're going to make a motion.
Yeah, Rusty, let me do this. How about I make a motion that we send this back to legal to find out the exact legal area that we're going to de-annex, and we bring that back at the earliest convenience of the legal
Okay, does
part.
everybody understand the motion? Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to have staff prepare de-annexation and bring it back at the earliest convenience. Discussion or debate? Please call the roll.
Chapman? Yes. Burke?
Yes.
Hampton? Yes. Fortenbaugh? Yes. Johnson? Yes. Warren? Hankins? Harris?
I'm open up to leave. Motion carries. Staff reports. Michael?
Mayor, no staff reports today. I do have a couple of things I'd like to say because I know everybody's been here for a long, long time. But I'm going to ask GIS to bring back a report in the future. It'll be a very quick report. There's a lot of great things happening in our GIS department. They're making headway in our cemetery, which will allow our sextants to actually quantify and use our GIS data to make it a better process. So not only do we have the citizens side to that, we'll have staff side to that, so they're going to bring that report back. And also GIS is working with our Public Works and Public Utilities Department, especially Public Utilities in this case, in documenting all those GIS requirements for our water lines. So they're going to bring that back on the report. I think it's really cool. I want y'all to see it. We don't get to see a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and I was excited, and I've been doing this for a while, so I want you guys to see that. I think it's pretty good. And I'm going to put Tim on the spot here for a minute. We had a conversation a week or two ago about LED streetlights. So I know you keep talking to me about LED streetlights. So good news is we're going to get LED streetlights. Bad news is every streetlight will be replaced with LED streetlights. Bad news is it will cost us a little bit more, but it's not because of the streetlights, if I remember correctly, Tim. It's because of other things going on in the economy that are causing increases in rates. Is that true, or did I get that partially right?
Tim needs a raise, that's what he's saying.
It's not a huge increase on our budget, but it is nonetheless.
It's an increase in the tariff on the lights that was decided by the Corporation Commission. So it will be more expensive. The other side of that coin, what we've got roughly 240 communities that in the next 4 years, we're changing everything. We just made that commitment here just this last month, really. And what that'll mean, Lawton, Michael and I were really trying to get Lawton to be the number one, but that really isn't going to work because they want to go to a rural area to make sure there's no big glitches or anything to do first. So they're going to start up around Tulsa in the rural areas around Tulsa. But the other thing that comes up, this is all going to have to be done. There's really not a choice because the fixtures that are currently out there now are just not being manufactured anymore. So it's going to be a good deal. Lawton will be done this year, though, or it will begin the end of the fourth quarter this year is where we're set up right now for Lawton to be done. And they'll do it as a group. They'll come in, they'll bring contractors, they'll come in and do it at one time. It's not like they're going to come do 5 lights and then back for more. It's not going to be our guys doing it. It's going to be and I think it'll give a complete different appearance to the streets.
Tim, do you recall the total number of streetlights involved in that? Larry does. Larry, what's the total number of streetlights?
Was it 4,000?
I think it was around
4,500 if I remember right.
4,800, something like that.
But that's just the main streets. Now, there's way more lights than that in the city, and that's individuals' lights. But those are the lights that are city street lights.
So will these be the cool purple ones?
Only for your street.
I was wondering.
Oh, I'm just thankful. I'm just thankful that we did it before I died. I mean, I kept thinking we've been begging for this forever, and well, thank goodness.
You know,
thank you.
But yeah, and in the future, we're hoping, the fuel. Well, hopefully not. That fuel won't continue to go up, but if it does, it kind of lowers that price initially down the road. So it'll lower the fuel used, but not necessarily the electric bill because of the rate that's been put on them.
So what Tim and I discussed was we're hoping that that will be a wash, but it may not be because fuel prices are high. But the initial outlay and the increased price in the fixtures, offset by hopefully the pass-through for fuel, will get us close to being neutral. It won't be, but it'll get us close to that. $20,000 or $30,000, I think, and somewhere in the neighborhood when we first started. Is that what we talked about of an increase?
Yeah, $20,000 a year is the difference, is what it'll initially be. Well, that's what I was going to say, Kelly. That the other thing I was going to go into is these have a lot longer shelf life of burning out. Now, we're still going to have lights that are shot out and other things that we experience. You'll have other fixtures that go out, but the light itself will last a lot longer. Yeah, I don't have a total life on it in front of me, but it is a much longer shelf life for sure. No, they'll be like more of a daylight color. Yeah, you won't have the sodium vapor, the pinkish color anymore. The LEDs are, yeah. I don't have it in front of me. That's what I couldn't answer there, Alan. But that's something I can get coming down the road for sure. Really, the biggest thing we were waiting on was a commitment that we would be able to get the lights. For that many lights to change out throughout our system was a lot of lights, and that's what we were initially waiting for, was a commitment that they could be manufactured.
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt the LED discussion, but I did have one more, Director, that I would like to just give you an
Tim,
update.
thank you.
On 911. So Jessica's just going to give you a quick update on 911. I think it's important because it's Telecommunicators Week, so I want her to be able to talk about that briefly. A couple of minutes, please.
I'll keep it shorter than that, I promise. But this week is National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week, and so we just wanted to make sure and shout out to our dispatchers that are working so diligently, because they don't just serve the city of Lawton, they also serve all of rural Comanche County. And they work really hard, and they're very dedicated professionals in such a thankless job. And so this week, again, is National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week, and we're doing some special things internally to celebrate them. And so we just wanted to make sure and shout them out this evening at the meeting.
And if you haven't had a chance to see our revised and updated, refreshed E911 Communication Center, let me or Jessica know, and we would be happy to get you out there and have a look at it. It's a fantastic operation. It is state of the art. So,
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Looking for a motion to adjourn. Got a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Burke. Hampton. Fortenbaugh. Johnson. Warren. Hankins. Harris. Chapman.
I can't believe